So good afternoon, everybody. It's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to present our research work in front of you. I'm Nicolas Bus. I'm a research engineer. I'm working in the information department at CSTV. And I'm in charge of the Emerging Technologies program. This program aims at identifying and experimenting disruptive innovations. In this program, we actually mainly focus on three technologies that are linked data, blockchain, and mixed reality. So today is more about blockchain, of course. And here is our philosophy of blockchain. Natively, digital technology made it very easy to duplicate and alter information at a high scale. But when you consider things like proof, transaction, value, and stuff like that, this ability to duplicate and to modify information appears as a drawback. And this is where blockchain can help by keeps information unique and unchanging. When we are talking about digital trust system, we are at the meeting point of three domains: business, security, and regulation. And we have to answer those three questions to have a trustable system. First, regulation. This aspect is very specific to the country. So I will tell you about a bit what's happened in France. Recently, our French Ministry of Economy, Bruno Le Maire, has promoted blockchain during a conference in Paris, saying that this will be a priority for four industrial sectors. That's finance, agronomy, energy, and construction. Unfortunately, for the moment, we only have a legal frame for finance part of the use case of the blockchain. I think that all of you heard about the GDPR European directive. I think this is a point where we have to be very careful, because there can be a conflict between the right to be forgotten and the never-ending ledger of or a never-lasting register. And finally, we have the former legal frame of the centralized digital proof systems, such as Visa card and electronic signature. And that's it, in French. So not so much legal frame. Here at CSTV, we have identified some use cases for blockchain to construction, and here are what we found the most interesting ones. Visa for green processing is the opportunity to track responsibilities of each actor during the whole life cycle of a project, and to handle the governance of data. About certification of BIM objects and products, I will go into more details just after. We are also interested in the maintenance log for buildings. Digital maintenance log for buildings is now mandatory in France for certain types of buildings, such as collective housing. And with our colleagues in CSTV, experts in energy, we are working on the blockchain use case of the blockchain for energy. The two first use cases are solar energy certificates to prove the origin of the electricity. Is it green or not? And in the context of self-consumption of energy, how to trade, how to share energy and values between neighbors. Once again, the energy market in France is a bit special because we have only one distributor that handles all the data about energy, and it's difficult to make things without this actor, and the market is not so open at this moment. So let's go into more details on this use case, the certification of BIM object. And I have prepared just a little example. So let's assume that I'm involved in a building project, and I've just had in my model a product with property and performances certified by the manufacturer. I pass the model to my colleagues, and then the model runs through a classic BIM process, level 2 or level 3, whatever. When it's time to perform calculation, question is my product still certified after many and many modifications of the model? So by asking to a blockchain expert, the answer is that I can build a certification ledger on top of a blockchain to keep track of the fingerprint of my certified object. So here is basically how it works. In blockchain, if I have an original document, and I honor that document, I can guarantee it. I calculate a fingerprint of this document, and I store the fingerprint in the blockchain. And for someone who gets a copy of the document, when it's time to verify the compliance with the copy of the document with the original, the only thing to do is to compare the fingerprint of the copy to the fingerprint of the original document that has been stored in the blockchain. So far, so good. But by doing that, did I register the content, the meaning of the data of my product, or only formatting of the data? It's quite a philosophical question, but there are some technical answers. I took a very simple example. Here is a product just defined by 3 properties. I can easily calculate a fingerprint of this product by using, for example, a SHA-3 algorithm. But many releases later, if I serialize the same product, can have changed somehow, but generates another fingerprint, just because the order of the declaration and the way to express values. It's a bit confusing because on a construction engineer point of view, the meaning of the 2 documents are the same. But for a computer point of view, 2 documents are non-compliant. So here we have a problem. Our approach is to change a little bit the way we calculate hash. To manage to get the same fingerprint while the meaning of the data keep the same. In this way, we track facts and not only formatting. At the moment, it's just a question of ordering declaration, standardizing properties, put some tolerance rules on values like unit accuracy, and normalize geometry, but in this use case, geometry is not always mandatory. So, by this approach, we address just a little part of one of the hundreds of use cases of the blockchain. I just wanted to go into details on one aspect of our work. Our future work is to experiment the linked data technology on top of blockchain to be able to get what we call ontology-driven blockchain that will be able to handle more meaning than only binary representation. There's still numerous questions to answer. Which is the best underlying blockchain system to use? Is it Ethereum, Hyperledger, Tezos, whatever? By taking into account transaction cost, energy consumption, which is very important when you deal with energy, and which is the kind of governance of the blockchain, because for such blockchain system, data are decentralized, but governance sometimes keep centralized somehow. And which is the blockchain system that is easiest to be auditable by non-IT experts when it's time to conflicts and you have to prove with your lawyer that things is okay for you. So I will leave the floor to Guilhem in a few minutes. It will be a good pleasure to answer your question just after Guilhem's speech, and I thank you for your attention.